Hey everybody, ABC 10 meteorologist Brenden Mincheff here with an extended look at the forecast. There's a couple things I'm tracking. Of course, one is the 4th of July, holiday week. Everybody wants to know how the holiday is going to be. Second thing I'm watching, this is developing kind of before the 4th. I don't really expect it to last into the holiday, but that would be lightning, and specifically for far northern California is where I'm most concerned about that lightning and associated fire danger. So because of that lightning and the thunderstorm potential, we do have a red flag warning in effect until Tuesday evening for scattered thunderstorms, which means we could have some dry lightning as well. Lightning may spark some new fires. This has happened Monday evening. There were at least 2 lightning-sparked fires, likely lightning-sparked fires up in Siskiyou County. And of course, when we get these thunderstorms, we also get these gusty winds, these outflow winds, and that can spread any fire around that starts pretty quickly because these are kind of gusty, variable, erratic winds. So you get a lightning strike, starts fire, and then these erratic winds just kind of start pushing that in every direction. Thankfully, none of these up in the far northern part of the state that happened Monday evening have really exploded. They're pretty small in acreage, but it only takes one, and especially when we're talking about multiple lightning strikes, it doesn't take much to get a pretty bad situation on your hands. We'll come back to the fire danger in just a couple of minutes, but let's talk about temperature now. We have had only one triple-digit day in Sacramento all June long, and even then we barely got there. We made it to 100 degrees last Saturday, June 28th. That was it. Every other day this month has either been in the 80s or the 90s, but no other triple-digit days. It doesn't happen very often, right? That we don't have a lot of these 100-degree days in the month of June. We know for sure it can be hot. In fact, this time last year, we were just about to enter our very hot stretch with where we had temperatures above 105, temperatures near 110 several days. Yeah, well, this month of June has been very nice. Again, just one day in those triple digits. Tuesday, the first day of July, is going to be warm, but not triple digits for most. I've got 95 in Sacramento, 97 in Stockton, 98 Modesto, 90s in the foothills, 80s up in the high country. It is going to be warmer in the upper Sacramento Valley, about 102 in Colusa, 99 Oroville, and 99 in Marysville. Definitely a warm afternoon, but just not widespread triple digits. In the San Joaquin Valley, anywhere from about 97 to 99. It does say Patterson at 100 tomorrow, but again, anywhere that reaches the triple digits are going to be kind of the exception to that forecast. 95 Sacramento, about 96 Rancho Cordova, 99 in Roseville, 95 Davis, 99 in Woodland, 85 Fairfield, and 91 in Vacaville on Tuesday. And we're going to keep these onshore winds in the evening. So even though the afternoons get pretty warm, mid to upper 90s, it is going to be decent during the evenings because of those onshore winds. So even a little breezy Tuesday morning, and then those winds come back by the time we get to Tuesday evening. Look at this, gusting 25 to almost 35 miles per hour in parts of the Delta, just kind of on the other side of those foothills. And then that wind subsides a little bit, remains breezy Wednesday night, and then the wind comes back on Wednesday evening. So again, even though we're in this pattern where the days are pretty warm and we're seeing temperatures above normal, because we get those winds during the evening hours, it's just not so bad. Here's the good news. Again, running 2 to 5 degrees warmer than normal Tuesday, Wednesday. Look at how temperatures drop though. We're near seasonal on Thursday, and I've even got below average temperatures in the 80s for the 4th of July on Friday. My current forecast high for Friday is 86 degrees. That would be 6 degrees cooler than our normal our normal high of 92 degrees. And even Saturday is going to be upper 80s, low 90s. This whole holiday weekend looks at or below normals for the time of year before we'll start to warm up again next week. But let's shift our focus back to the thunder potential and, of course, that fire danger. So here is the severe weather outlook for Tuesday. Now, keep in mind, this comes from the National Forecasting Center in Oklahoma, the National Weather Service Storm Prediction Center. I will say, in my opinion, they're overdoing the thunderstorm chance for the valley. I do not expect to see thunderstorms anywhere near Stockton or Sacramento. Maybe some storms just trying to move into places like Chico and Redding, but for the most part, we're going to be watching the higher elevations for the thunderstorm potential. Again, not saying it won't happen that we could see a lingering storm try to push into the valley, but it's just, don't expect it, right? That would not be the general forecast. What I want to really draw attention to is this kind of brown shaded area up here, dry lightning potential. This is what is leading to the critical fire danger. because of that lightning. It's not just that we're going to see thunderstorms, it's that we could see lightning and no rain with it. When we see lightning and we have rain, it could start a fire, but then it rains and it kind of puts it out as no big deal. But when we get the lightning without the rain, that's when we can have some problems, as we alluded to earlier in the video. So let's time out Futurecast, and this is what I mean by I don't expect anything in the valley. This is about 2:30 p.m. on Tuesday. The valley is clear. It's sunny. It's not even showing clouds in the valley, but we do see those isolated thunderstorms in the coastal range and in the northern Sierra, kind of lingering up into the northeast plateau there into Modoc County. But there's just nothing in the valley. It all kind of stays in the high country. Maybe some isolated showers and maybe a thunderstorm up near Tahoe tomorrow. But once again, just like Monday afternoon and evening, the focus is going to be across the far northern part of the state. Think Siskiyou, Modoc. Once you start working off to the east into the coastal ranges, right? Maybe we see some storms in places like Trinity County and maybe as far south as Mendocino. But for the most part, it is going to be in that far northern part of the state, at least for Tuesday, because look what happens now when we get to Wednesday afternoon. Now we start to see that focus shift into the central Sierra more and the greater Tahoe area. So you do see those pop-up showers early afternoon on Wednesday, and then as we get later in to the afternoon Wednesday, we see some more in the far northern part of the state, but a lot of that activity is in the crest of the Sierra, in the central Sierra near Tahoe. So that's something to keep in mind if you are planning on heading to the high country. I will reiterate that the primary focus for thunderstorms and that associated fire danger is in the far northern part of the state. Modoc County, Siskiyou County, Shasta County, Trinity County, right? This is all well to our north, places we don't always talk about in these extended forecasts. That doesn't mean we won't see thunderstorms develop elsewhere, but the focus is going to be well to our north for that dry lightning and the thunderstorm wind gusts. Elsewhere, things are very dry, of course, we know that, so it's still very important to be careful with things such as fireworks this week especially, of course, because it is 4th of July week. If you are headed to the high country, here's a couple things to keep in mind. This goes for Tahoe as well, because like we talked about, we are expecting those midweek thunderstorms to develop. So Sierra thunderstorm safety, just be ready. Conditions will change rapidly. It can go from sunny to stormy in just a matter of minutes with these mountain thunderstorms. So make sure you have shelter nearby. That would be a fully enclosed building or a hard-topped vehicle, a tent, kind of a pagoda, if you will, or a gazebo, anything of that sort where it's kind of open on the walls, right? But you have a roof overhead. That doesn't really count either as an enclosed building. A convertible, of course, not a hard-topped vehicle. If you get small hail, of course, you want that hard top. So just make sure you have shelter nearby. You don't want those open walls. You don't want something soft over your head like a tent or a convertible. Be off the peaks by about noon, 1 o'clock at the latest. If you hike or you climb early or whatever it is you're doing, if you can be up there before the thunderstorms develop, you don't even have to worry about anything at all. The later into the afternoon you are in the high country, right? The later in the afternoon that you are up in the trails, up near the tree lines, that's when you got to start thinking and being more cautious about the thunderstorms because, again, as we talked about, things can change very quickly. And here is the bottom line. If you can hear thunder, you can be struck by lightning. Little sidebar. In South Carolina, a week ago, maybe 2 weeks, it was not that long ago, there was a group of people stayed in a lake even though they were hearing thunder in the distance, and they ended up getting struck by lightning because they were in the water. So if you can hear thunder, it doesn't need to be right overhead, doesn't need to be raining. If you hear thunder, you're close enough to be struck by lightning, so then it's time to take your thunderstorm preps. Looking at the weather pattern, here's why we've got this little bit of moisture. Little low pressure just off the coast. That's bringing that moisture up into Northern California. That's firing off some of those isolated thunderstorms. That system's going to be moving, though, over the next few days. By the time it gets to Wednesday, it's a little more focused on the Central Sierra. That's why we're going to get some of those isolated thunderstorms closer to our area. But then it moves out. By Friday, you can see it's not high pressure that's dominating the pattern. We're in the wake of that low. That's going to bring us that cooler air. All weekend long, we'll be looking at those seasonal temperatures, but then high pressure starts to build back in next week, and temperatures could climb towards 100 about July 9th or 10th or so. Something we'll be watching, still a little ways away, but something to be mindful of. Temperatures very warm in the foothills, mid-90s Tuesday and Wednesday. In the Sierra, we're in those low to mid-80s. But look what happens when we get to the 4th of July. We're cooling off into the low 80s in the foothills, mid-70s in the high country. But remember, importantly, we do have those thunderstorm chances the next few days. So I know the 4th looks really tempting, but just remember, we got the thunderstorms and things we got to pay attention to before we get there. In the valley, Tuesday and Wednesday are going to be very similar in those mid to upper 90s. By Thursday, it's low to mid 90s. And then here comes the 4th of July. We're in the mid to upper 80s, more than 5 degrees below normal for the time of year. Very seasonal through the weekend, and then temperatures start to warm up as we head into next week, where temps go back into the mid to upper 90s, and we'll likely see some triple digits as well. Thanks for watching.